What's up, guys? This is the Illegal Defense, episode 12 for our NFL segment. We're going to get into a lot of things with the NFL season that's been happening. First off, we're going to get straight into our weekly recap. First game that we're going to recap is the AFC West matchup with the Chiefs versus the Chargers. Chiefs took care of business and swept the Chargers. So, yeah, they beat them 30-27. What was your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot going on here with just the dynamics of this division. Obviously, the whole narrative of Justin Herbert keeping things close against the Chiefs, which they did. How the Chiefs, if the Chiefs offense was going to keep up, their streak of kind of just performing well, and they did that as well. And a lot of people were even making jokes about how this Chiefs team, like every fan base wants this out of their team, like the ability to be able to have these close games and they always
And
find a
still
way to
come out
win.
on top, yeah.
And it was just like people saying like, oh, the Chargers lost that game as soon as they left a minute and changed on the board for the Chiefs, and it's kind of true. I mean, how many times are we going to see the Chiefs find a way to pull up a game-winning drive with little to no time left
Right.
and find a way to either force overtime or win the game outright? And they do so again here. You know, and yeah, I mean, look, I wouldn't even say a impressive win by the Chiefs. I guess just their body of work of being able to consistently be in this position is impressive, although not surprising because, as we said, they found ways to continue to do this for years now, and they've been doing this, all year.
Yeah.
I mean, they're playing in a sense better than they were even last year, and
Yeah.
where they were struggling this year, they just been racking up the wins and keeping things rolling.
I think they're getting hot at the right time. Travis Kelsey and Pat Mahomes are on the same page. They're always clicking. They obviously had the addition of Kadarius Toney. He wasn't really effective last game. But his first game, he was able to show what he can bring to the offense and what he can bring to that dynamic of weapons. So, I mean, it sucks to see the Chargers be this disappointing. Considering their talent. I mean, we've spoken about it all season, and we spoke about it a little bit, I believe, last week. But it's kind of like they eventually just have to get over that hump, and they eventually just need to be able to try to be able to match up with the Chiefs.
Yeah, if you're the Chargers, it's a tough situation because you're obviously going to be disappointed. One, that you lost to the Chiefs. Two, you lost to a division rival. Um, but just in general, like they either found ways to lose or haven't found ways to win.
Yeah, exactly.
And as the season keeps getting more, later and later, they're in a very tough position because clearly they have some solid pieces there. Look, they're able to push the Chiefs to have to come back that late. I mean, we see games where the Chiefs just, air it out against teams and it's no competition. At least they were in the game down to the very end here. But yeah, for a Chargers team, it's a tough loss. All you can do is move on and get better. Good thing for them is they don't play the Chiefs anymore on their schedule, right?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
that's the good thing about getting swept by a team is that you don't have to see them again. So if they could pull themselves together, they certainly have the pieces to get back into things and push for a playoff spot. We saw the mythical return of Keenan Allen, who
Right.
hasn't been able to stay healthy all year. He played pretty well too.
Yeah, he was effective.
He didn't get injured again in this game as well. I mean, you have to say that. And if they could keep him for the rest of the year, he's a huge piece for a great quarterback in Justin Herbert, who needs that number one receiver to kind of get the most out of his skills and his potential. So hopefully for them, they could use this and continue to grow
Build
as a
on it.
team and take more steps in the right direction. And then if they could push for the playoffs, then maybe they'll see the Chiefs again. And look, it's hard to beat a team twice in a year, let alone three
Three
times.
times, yeah.
And at that point, if they could be healthy, maybe be the healthier team in that matchup. Who knows? Maybe their fortunes could change.
Yeah. So the next game that we're gonna get into is the Cowboys versus the Vikings. Cowboys surprisingly just completely annihilated the Vikings, 40-3. Um, this game is kind of weird because the Vikings couldn't get anything going. They weren't able to protect Kirk Cousins. Michael Parsons was having his like the game of his season like for the most part. And then on top of that, it's like they just weren't able to stop the Cowboys offense at all. And Dak Prescott just looked like an MVP candidate, just slinging it. Tony Pollard and Zeke are just taking turns, just gashing the defense. It was just a crazy game. And I don't think anybody expected the Vikings to only put up 3 points.
Well, I will say this, and we did preview this game last week. I picked the Vikings to win, but I did mention that the Cowboys could win this game if they just shut them down. And if the game was to go the Cowboys' way, I pictured it going this way in terms of how the Cowboys played defensively to just completely, annihilate and wipe out the Vikings offense. What I will say is the thing that I didn't expect was the offense on the Cowboys part, right?
Yeah.
Not only did Micah Parsons have a career game against the Vikings, but Tony Pollard as well. I mean, he's catching passes for touchdowns. He's, gashing the defense. Dak Prescott looked great, like you talked about. So, offensively, they just came together and had a great performance, which, on one hand, if you want to be, cynical, you might say, oh, maybe they wasted this offensive performance when they didn't need it, right? They needed 4 points to win this game,
Right.
oddly enough, and they dropped 40 on the Vikings. So, but yeah, look, if they could put both together, this would be the team that, I mean, kind of people thought they had in the bag for this season, and we haven't gotten to see it mostly because of Dak Prescott's injuries, but also some other things. But look, the Cowboys defense is always there. The offense has been, the
Kind of
thing.
iffy.
Yeah, it's been iffy. The defense has carried them when Dak hasn't been in there with the whole Cooper Rush situation. They've been able to lean on that defense. So we know their defense is consistent. It's just, when the name of the game is put up more points than the other team could outscore you, then
It's kind of tough to do to win
yeah.
games.
So if they could have both clicking, Cowboys are in a great spot. The whole NFC East really is looking great this year. So it might be one of those situations where these guys, take turns eating each other, and who knows how things will turn out come wild card time. But Cowboys certainly in contention to win the division, and if not, definitely in the driver's seat to grab one of those wild card spots. For the Vikings, look, this is a game where probably as a coach, I mean, maybe you throw away the tape.
Right.
It feels like that with these kind of games, but I would think as the Vikings to lose this bad the way they did, you probably do need to find some things and say, look, we can't have this happen. We can't have our offensive line just completely get
Implode.
mauled
Right.
and Kirk Cousins be, not having time to throw, and then Kirk, you can't get rattled just because these things happen. But look, second loss for the Vikings, they'll be fine. You move on. You keep playing good football. They've been playing great all year. They just come off a big win against the Bills. So maybe this was one of those situations where this was a bit of a letdown trap kind of game where they were gearing up for the Bills the whole time. They come out with a win. They're riding high. Maybe they lack some focus on this one. But yeah, I think the Vikings will be fine, and they're certainly in the driver's seat
To win that division.
to win that division
Considering-
and move on in the playoffs.
Right, considering how everything's panned out in the North. So, I mean, the good thing about the Viking situation is they still have, I mean, you still have so much more football to play, and then on top of that, it's like, I mean, the Cowboys, you're most likely not going to see them in the playoffs. You may see a different team, who knows, but um we'll get into the next game. They're the Cowboys division rival, the Eagles. They took care of business at the Colts. They came back, which was pretty surprising. I mean, Sirianni was he was basically doing what Pat Beverly did when he was on Minnesota. But it was it was a good win for the Eagles considering how dominant they've been all year, and to come back from kind of having a stagnant offense. They didn't really seem to get clicking. I kind of thought like, oh, will they lose two in a row?
Yeah.
Considering they like the Colts have been playing really more with an identity where they're just running the ball a lot more. They're sticking with their guns and Jonathan Taylor, and they're making they have a specific identity. Whereas
Hmm.
like we saw the past weeks, it was like, what are they doing? Why are they
Hmm.
giving this guy 4 carries a game when
Right.
he just came off of 1,000 yard year? But the Colts, I mean, they you gotta give it to them. They put in a great effort, and you also have to give it to the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles, they showed some resiliency and they got the win on the road. So
Yeah, I mean, look, like you said, it's probably a good thing for the Eagles to have a win under their belt like this. You don't want to go through the season not tested, and then the first time you're tested is in the playoffs, and you don't know how your team is going to react. This is a win where it wasn't pretty. It wasn't how they wanted to get the win, but at the end of the day, you could, lean back and look at this win and say, look, we've been in tough situations before. We've been able to prevail and do what it takes to come out and get the win by any means necessary. And so yeah, look, it was tough circumstances coming into this game. It seems like you said, the Colts just had something different about them. And after the Eagles came with that loss before, this is like a kind of a bad setup for the Eagles here. But yeah, look, they're able to get the job done. They keep the sole best record in the NFC and as the number one seed here with only one loss. And yeah, look, it's the Eagles team that we know will continue to be talking a lot about. And look, a lot of people are talking about the NFC East potentially being wide open because of this game. And I think the feeling was, and it wasn't talked about a lot, but the feeling kind of was that the Colts have a sneaky shot of taking down the Eagles and giving them two losses, and then everybody's in the mix for the NFC East just like that.
yeah.
So, but no, the Eagles they're able to hold things off and keep control of their own destiny, and we'll see how things go for this Eagles team moving on, and for the Colts team moving on, trying to turn their season around.